Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I am fine. It's like Groundhog's Day. It's Monday. It's Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Pick a day. All right. Let's look at gold 33.87. A nice, healthy morning. We didn't really get shot too much at 10 o'clock. You can see it did go down, but only $10. And now it's coming back. I hope to see 3,400 soon, hopefully today. And silver 36.31. We've seen it at 37. Not sure why it's back down to 36.31, but we are happy that it's holding. Again, China wants it higher. Russia wants it. All the BRICS countries want it higher. It's amazing how stupid Trump is, where he's like, oh, please don't go on the BRICS gold back currency, even though everybody in BRICS is buying gold. You can't go off the dollar. Well, you've kicked them all off. You sanctioned them all off. You tariffed them all off. What the hell do you expect them to do? You're saying it. Why? You want to be the bully, but you can't because they don't listen to you anymore. So Trump's living in some fantasy land. He's basically running the country the only way you can run it, which is inside because we're far too big. It's like invading Russia. What's the point? It's too big. You can't invade it. So it's a definitely we've got to end these wars because they're very expensive. Gold, you've got to feel good about it. I mean, it went all the way down to 33.53 and then it shoots back up. So, there's really no risk of it really falling too much, which really is only can fall by these options. That's the problem when it's not priced by the market. Again, what is the market? The market is what I can sell things for that somebody will buy it for. My Canadian club. I can go and say I'll sell it for 100, and if there's a buyer, that's what a market is. If there's no buyers, there's no market. I'm trying to sell the dollar. Is there a buyer? There is no buyers. Nobody will buy our debts because we're 37 going to 38 trillion in debt, going to zero as it falls out. So this must be somebody to take it. There must be a buyer and a seller to have a market. That's the critical part. So you're trying to sell things that people want. Well, nobody wants the dollar. Now, if I were to go to Europe now, Italy or Barcelona, maybe Luke can answer this. Are they still taking the dollar? Luke was in France in February, March. I assume they took the dollar there. Are they still taking it? I think I'm hearing companies aren't, or they're getting like a 2% discount if they use euros. So I think they're phasing out the dollar. And we'll really get a picture of it July 1st when we go to Basel III and we're going to get a real price of gold. And that's what we're really waiting for is the real price of the market. So in other words, what's the market price of gold and silver? That's what we're waiting for. And it's up here. And COMEX is down here. And that's why people want to keep buying from COMEX if they're going to keep it that cheap. This is where, again, we try to understand that, well, it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down, which is not right. He kind of gets it, but kind of doesn't. Yeah, gold used to be $35 an ounce, and now it's 30. $33.87 an ounce. Okay. And let's call it 3,400. Did gold go up? Absolutely. How could it not have? Did the dollar go down? Absolutely. It's printed. How could it not have? But I don't buy the correlation that the dollar went down 10,000% from $35 to 3,400. I think the dollar went down far more than that. Well, we know it can go down only 100%, but that's where I struggle with Aleister McLeod, because the dollar could only go down 100%, which would make it $70 gold. So what are you talking about? How could we get to 3,400? How could the dollar go down more than 100%? That's where he doesn't get it. Gold goes up because of demand, like any other product, as does silver. But when you got JP Morgan holding the price down, and whoever in London holding the price down, I guess the LBMA has their JP Morgan. So when they hold the price down, you're not getting a real price. The dollar can only go down 100%. And it's gone down way more than that, because again, it was 10 cents for a Coke is now $3.60. Well, wait a minute, that's a lot more than 100%. Right, 100% would mean it would go from 30 cents to 60 cents. The dollar can only go down 100%, but apparently it's gone down a lot more than 100%, which doesn't make any sense. You printed it, so it's worthless. That makes sense. If it's worthless, nobody wants it. That makes sense. That's what's happening. So that's really what the key is that. But gold's really going up because of demand, because they see the dollar's over because they printed too much of it, and therefore they keep buying more than there is supply of gold. They're doing it in silver, but we're not seeing it. Silver 36.30. We're not really seeing silver be free market. And that's the key you got to realize. That's why you can't do a technical analysis on gold and silver, because it's not free market. So to do a technical analysis, avocado time, to do a technical analysis, you would have to have consistent data. And anybody can manipulate the data. So you'd have to have consistent data, but you're not going to, because now you have BRICS entering the system. So you can only go back the last 5 or 6 years that BRICS has been buying it heavy. And then that's what I would look at, gold. But you can't use a trend, because it's still being pushed down by COMEX. They're still selling options and paper. This is paper dollars you're looking at. So I think that's the first thing, is this is not physical gold. This is physical Canadian Club. This is physical whiskey. This isn't paper whiskey. So if this goes up, you can chart this, because this had to be offered and bought. Somebody sells it, somebody buys it. Yes, you can chart that. You can do a technical analysis there. But in gold, you can't. It's paper gold. So what are we talking, paper or physical? I talk physical gold. I don't talk paper gold, because it's make-believe. It's Santa Claus. Paper gold is bullshit, and that's what COMEX is. That's why I have no idea why we use $33.88. If I go to the gold store today, but he's closed on Mondays, if I were to go there, why am I buying physical with this price? And that's why I love it, because they're selling physical gold with paper prices that are being subdued. So it really makes no sense that this is the pricing mechanism that we're going to use. So I don't get it. And that's why when I talk about, let's say, Bitcoin, not only is it paper, it's not even real. It's just, what is it? It's digital. You can't have digital money. You can have the internet. Somebody said, "Oh, the internet's digital." Well, yeah, I can see it though. I can use it. And how do you value the internet, right? But I can't value digital money if I can't see it and touch it and hold it. It's not real. But nobody wants to hear it or care because they go, "Well, yeah, but it's um, it's now it's now at 100,000. So look, it went up in value. Okay, why? First of all, it's not real. Secondly, it's all price fixed. It's all made off. It's all Ponzi scheme. Okay, so you got in early and you might be sold and now it went up, okay. But if you bought gold with it, wait for the gold ride. So as soon as we dump the paper gold into physical gold, which should be July 1st, because we can see what happened with when they did it in Europe and the gold shot up to 3,400. Silver is price fixed, but it is not Basel 3. And now I believe it becomes Basel 3 July 1st. So now we're going to see silver run. None of these guys who do these shows on YouTube understand it. They look at it from a chart. Oh, silver is about to explode. How can silver? Physical might be about to explode, but not paper, as long as it's controlled by Comex and JP Morgan, and they're doing these derivatives and shorting it. How can silver ever go? The question is why does anybody allowed not only keeping the price down, but allowed to keep the price down? You can't price fix that. That's bullshit. We're America. There's no price fixing here. So that's really the problem, is the price fixing. So really when you're looking at it, you're looking at paper gold, paper silver. This is what's happening here. And so you've got to differentiate the two. This is physical, but this is like paper whiskey, right? There's just selling derivatives, keeping the price down or up or price fixing it, but it's not the physical. So how can you chart? You can chart paper, but you can't now for making it physical with Basel 3, with bricks. It's a whole different game. So go chart physical where you can't. You have no idea what the price is. The price of physical is not the price of paper. This is what nobody seems to understand. It's over everybody's head but ours, that this is paper gold price, paper silver price, not physical. So keep that in mind. So that's why we say buy physical. Do not buy. You really don't want to buy ETFs. Those are paper. You don't want to buy any paper. Paper burns, gold can't. Physical gold can't. At the end of the day, the dollar's collapsing because it is paper and it's not backed by anything. And all the currencies are going to fall. And the only spot you can run into is going to be gold and silver, not ETFs and not CBDCs. A digital currency is the same as this. But if it isn't backed by anything, it isn't worth anything. This hasn't been worth anything since 1971, since we went off of gold. And if you go to a CBDC, which I don't know anybody who'd want to, oh, we can control you. Oh, what are we, living in a Twilight Zone episode? Are you going to control me? And how the hell are you going to control me? Well, we won't let you shop. Oh, yeah, I'm sure the stores will be happy to hear that. Oh, you can't drive your car today. Well, you're not going to be able to stop me. It's a gas car. I'm not going to buy electric. I'm not an idiot. I've watched enough Twilight Zone episodes to know what happens when the leaders try to control you. You basically, they'll never get rid of money because the mafia uses it to sell its drugs and girls, period. You're not going to go to Amsterdam and go, well, yeah, I have this, I have this CBDC. Do you take CBDCs? It's like them taking debit or credit cards. Yeah, let me pull out my credit card machine so everybody can know what I'm doing. Yeah, probably not going to happen. or Vegas. I mean, the girls are it's cash only. They should take gold and silver, I'm sure. Um, but that's the thing. I go to the barbecue and the guy will take my silver, but I want to sell it to him at $37 an ounce. I want to sell it to him at, I don't want to sell it at all, but I'm going to hold on to it when it goes to 1,000 an ounce. I'll be happy I did. But that's the characteristics of a market. You hold it. That's what savings are. You hold it because you think it'll be worth more later, or you're saving for a house or a car. That's why you hold your money. Otherwise, you just spend it all. But you can't let the well run dry. And that's what I keep kind of saying, uh, you know, when I date these girls is I don't have a money tree. Well, you have money. I do, but I need to replenish it. And I'm not going to sell my gold because I can't replenish my gold, especially when it hits 10,000. So I got to hold it and just live off my cash and my credit cards until until gold goes much higher, silver. That's the thing. If we see silver at 100, it's all over. You won't see me looking for a job. So I did have an interview last week. I'm waiting to hear if I have a second interview. I hate when you have the interview with HR. Oh, we'll be contacting you, and then you never hear from them. Once in a while, you do. Ford, I had an interview with Ford, and I gave them my letter of recommendation from a VP. You'd think that would get you in the door. No, sorry. Yeah, he's only a VP of your company, so if he says you're a good worker, yeah, we don't trust that. I mean, it's insanity. So this is what markets are. It's a buyer and a seller selling physical goods, not paper. Stock market is the same thing with paper, with the derivatives, with the options. Options are merely selling stock you're selling like 100 shares instead of one, or let's say you buy 20 shares of Ford, you can do an option, sell 250 shares of Ford. And that's what an option is. And you can bet it to go down or up, and versus buying stock. So you basically have a lot more risk in an option than you do in just buying the stock. Because if you buy 100 shares, here's your $100. And if it goes up, great. If it goes down, you've paid cash. You don't owe anything. But if you buy options, you got to then get called for delivery. And then you're really fucked because you don't have the money because you paid $10 for $1,000 worth of stock. Stock falls, you owe 500. Well, wait a minute. I only had 10. Well, you got fucked because you're an idiot. And that's what happens. That's very risky, the derivatives and the options and things like that. So you've got to be careful. But that's what markets are. It's a buyer and a seller selling. And that's why we have free trade, as I've been discussing the last few days. The Nazis needed radium and they needed iron ore, and they sold their gold to Switzerland to get Swiss francs to buy the iron ore from Sweden and the radium from Portugal. So that's how trade works. I don't have X, so I have Y, and country over here will give me X for Y, and then country over here will give me A for Y. So nobody would take the Nazi gold because they knew it was all corrupt. But the Swiss will take it because they can melt it down into Swiss francs, and nobody knows it's Nazi gold. You won't see too many. If you see gold bars, you probably aren't going to see any that have the swastika on it now. These coins I get now, what they're eagles or they're maple leaves. I mean, they're remelted. It could be Nazi gold or Caesar's gold from the Romans, Spanish gold. It could be any of that. But what they do is they melt it down and redo it. If you've seen Money Heist, they made them all into little pebbles, and then they took the pebbles and melted them down into bricks again, and they put their little logo on it. So Gold's a funny business that you can't destroy it. So you melt it down and you cool it back down, and you've created something else. So that's all these coins, the eagle. That's why I sit there and laugh about, oh, the maple leaf isn't, gonna be worth it. They're gonna confiscate it. It's such bullshit. Gold is gold. It doesn't matter what country it's from. Where do these people have these incredibly stupid thoughts? You can only buy American eagles. Why? An ounce of gold's an ounce of gold. At the end of the day, gold selling for, let's say, 3,400 now, 3,380. Let's say gold's 3,400. It doesn't say U.S. gold versus the eagle. Now, the guy at the store by me might give me less for my Cougaran or my maple leaf than my eagle at this point. But when it really gets tight and there's very little gold out there, believe me, he'll take any gold. So if you need, you sell your American gold first, and then your eagle, then your maple leafs and your Cougarans and your Philharmonics after. Silver, I believe most of mine is eagles, and I don't know if there's a difference. He doesn't sell those differently. It's weird. The silver, it's all the same price. Oh, I got maple leafs, Cougarans. It doesn't matter. They're $2 over premium, so it doesn't matter what I get. It's let's say it's 36 now, it'd be $38, and I just picked up maple leafs and eagles and buffaloes. It doesn't matter, but in gold it matters. Doesn't make sense. So it's some sort of a scam going on in gold. They're trying where they want to sell their eagles, but I honestly, they're not compensating it. Nobody knows you have it, and nobody's going to know you have it. And you're basically going to just sit there. You're never going to go to the bank or the government with your gold to sell it. You're going to eBay or the gold store. Probably the gold store is easier. Blueberry. The gold store is just a retail store. That's where I buy it. The only thing I sold was my wedding ring and a bracelet. That was solid gold. That was 18. One was 18, one was 14. And I traded it in for a half ounce. And because I said I'd rather have the coin, which I did. I'd rather have the half ounce because you get screwed on it, because this is not, even though this is an ounce, it's not an ounce of gold. It's 3/4 of an ounce of gold. So I get 3/4 of what the gold's selling for. So if gold's selling for 4,000, I get 3,000 for it. But I don't want to sell it. This is my gift from myself to myself for my masters. The class ring was 800. This was 500, and it was gold. So it was a no-brainer for somebody with an Austrian economics background or classical economics. I love when they don't like Austrian economics. Classical economics, it sounds better. It's classical. So keep that in mind. But that's what a market is, and that's why you free trade. You want free trade because you want other things that you don't have. You want French champagne. The Nazis wanted iron ore. The Japanese and Chinese needed oil and gas, natural gas. Germany needs natural gas from Russia. Well, they don't have to buy it from Russia. I think they could buy it from Iran, or they could buy it from Venezuela, or they could buy it from Canada, maybe, or they could buy it from Saudi. So they didn't have to buy it from Russia. I can't imagine Russia's the only one who had natural gas, but let's say that's the case. So, I mean, but they don't have natural gas is the point. So you trade because somebody has what you don't. Like these little computer chips in Amsterdam that apparently are only made in Amsterdam. So you got to trade for them. What we normally trade is money. See, I don't get Trump. You trade money for your goods there's no trade imbalance. There can never be a trade imbalance because you're paying for it. If you didn't pay for it, you would owe them. That could be a trade imbalance. But the fact that you are supposed to send, phones that you make, and if China sells you more phones than you sell them, you're supposed to sell them the same amount. That's fairy tale. I mean, I don't know where you're getting that. That's Santa Claus. It's not real because you're paying them in money. That's how and then they go buy your treasuries. So you say, how did China get so many treasuries? Because we keep paying them for their goods made in China. What do? They get money. What do they do with the money? They can't spend the money in China because they have yuan or renminbi. I don't know why there's two names, but we sell it to them, and that's the key to it, right? They get the money. They bought T-bills. They realize that our money's worthless, and they'll never get paid the T-bills because we're 37 trillion in the hole. Where the hell are we going to get the money to pay them on their T-bills? We're not. We can't. So therefore, they dump the T-bills and buy gold. So basically, they're selling us, clothes and shoes and stuff like that, and everything made in China. We're giving them money, and then they're buying gold with the money, which is very, very smart. That's what they should be doing. So that's the key to it. But that's why you have free trade. Like I said, the Nazis needed they needed the iron ore from Sweden. They needed the rhodium from Portugal, but they couldn't pay for it. So they stole all the gold from Austria, Czechoslovakia, Poland. That was the whole point of the war. And that's why you had Blitzkrieg, because they couldn't afford a war longer than a week. They had no money, right? 1923, and the mass had no money. So they stole the gold, but nobody would take the gold they stole except for Switzerland. And their excuse was, well, we're neutral and we love gold. So anybody want to sell us gold, we'll take it. We don't care if it's Nazi gold or whatever. And then they'd melt it down, and there you go. Nobody knew. So with that, we know what's happening. The tariffs make things cost more. I was watching something this morning on Scott Bassett, or Powell says, well, the tariffs will make things cost more. That's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. They cannot, like I say, you can't raise the Toyota to 35,000, a Camry to 35,000. Nobody will pay for it. They couldn't raise the price. They can raise the price. The question is, will the market pay for it? And these guys are so stupid. They don't understand that concept. But these are the people running the government. Boog Powell is the chairman of the Fed. Bart Simpson is the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bassett. And you wonder why we're broke. You wonder why we have a $37 trillion debt. Because you got the fucking Three Stooges in charge of it. So this is the problem. They don't even understand it. The tariffs raise cost to the manufacturer, period. It's up to the manufacturer, who we know have to raise prices or lay off everybody or don't sell to America. So we're not going to have higher prices from tariffs. We're going to have higher prices from the inflation. The money's losing value. I think this is just a magic show. I look at my left hand while longer. So we don't want to say it's the inflation that's killing the dollar and raising the prices. So we'll come out with these tariffs. Trump, you do it because you're an idiot. You're a bully, and you blame the tariffs. But it's really the inflation. It's really, we printed too much money. And we're no longer on the petrodollar, and we're no longer doing FX. And therefore, all the dollars are coming in and are causing massive inflation because inflation is printing the money. And you printed it, but you had buyers in the other countries using the FX conversion. If China wanted to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they'd have to sell the yuan for the dollar and then use the dollar to buy the oil. Because Saudi Arabia made this agreement where you protect us and we'll only take dollars for oil. Well, that's gone. So the dollars are coming back. And then there's no FX because you don't need to buy oil in dollars anymore. And then you have massive inflation from all the money printing because your government's too big. How do you pay for the government? It doesn't produce revenue. This is the problem with big government. Oh, this is the problem with small government too. It doesn't produce revenue. What does it sell? What do you buy from the government? Nothing. You pay taxes, which are totally illegal because you're not supposed to. And you shouldn't be paying taxes. There should not be a monopoly in a central bank. It's totally illegal, not in the Constitution, because you're basically letting the Fed be the monopoly and you're taking it off of the market. So instead of a market for the bonds and they don't sell, oh, well, no, we'll buy our own market. Well, that means your dollar is worthless. If you're buying your own bonds and nobody will buy them, that means nobody wants your dollars, which means it's worthless, which is where we're basically at right now. So you keep hearing people don't know what inflation is. They don't know what the market is. They don't know what COMEX is. They don't know what the price of gold is because they're all talking paper, but they don't understand there's paper and physical, or it's like a big awakening and an enlightenment that, Moses and the burning bush. And it's like, this is, the burning bush coming in going, no, this is paper gold, not physical gold, you morons. And I'm the burning bush going, no, it's paper, not physical. Buy physical because they can't fuck physical. They can't print it. They can't inflate it. And then you have the fake prices. Nobody cares. I heard Alligator think that the inflation was 10%. Inflation, first of all, you can't go year over year. I don't know where they're getting this from, where inflation's year over year. It's not. You go back to 1971 when you went off gold. That's how much money you printed. It's money printing. So from 1971 to today, you've printed so much money that a Coke was 10 cents is now $3. So it's really hard to listen to these idiots when they don't know what they're talking about. You don't go back year over year, and it's not. Why is prices your determinant? It's how much money you've printed is inflation. And the value of the dollar goes down. Maybe you can calculate that, but the inflation certainly is not year over year. I mean, it's go back to 71 to today, right? A car was $2,500 and now it's $50,000. How do you get 3% out of that mess? Well, if the government tells us, or, if I'm a conspiracy theorist because I disagree with the government's wrong. Why would I agree with it? It's just bullshit. It's not a correct response. So you get a lot of misinformation. So please be careful. Gold and silver are what you must have if you want to survive. And it's very, very cheap right now because we're talking physical, not paper. Do not buy paper. Do not buy paper anything. Stocks. This is why you got to get out of stocks. You got to get your money out of the bank. You got to get out of your 401ks. You got to get out of Bitcoin. Well, I'm making money in Bitcoin. Good for you. 1929, everybody was making money in their stocks also. And then it went down to 29. The market went from 2,900 to 29. So, yeah, you can look at it today. But my specialty is reading the future. And I do it in football very well. And if you understand all the concepts, which I teach you, and that's why we call it the Titanic. So you basically, the money is printed to death. The money's hit the iceberg and the water's coming in, the ship's sinking. Same thing. The money's been printed and printed and printed. Between the petrodollar going away, the FX going away, and everybody buying gold and bricks, the dollar's sunk. Nobody wants it. Before, people would want it, but now they can't handle the competition of gold. Bricks was smart enough that everybody buys gold and they play by the golden rule. And the US dollar is not, the US is not smart enough to go to gold. You've got to be out of your mind. Don't you know what happened in Rome? They took the gold and silver out of the coins and now they're worth, and they became worthless. And then the Ottomans came in and said, thank you. We will steal your gold. Thank you very much. So they stole the gold. And that was it. So gold is critical because you can't inflate it. I don't know why they want to keep printing money, and they keep printing the money like they don't understand. Because Jim Rickards says you can print as much as you want without understanding that you can, but then it loses its value and it goes to zero. He doesn't understand the other part of it, just like going forward on 4th and 2. It looks good if you make it, but if you miss, you lose the game. Is it worth the risk? It's not. I was watching Alligator and he said something on statistics. He said statistics are always wrong. You can get them to say what so they look good, but they're always wrong. I'll bring up baseball with all the pitchers going down. And it's basically because they want to make the pitchers throw 100 miles an hour, even though most people can't, and to rotate the ball and curve it, and that hurts the elbow. You can't. It's not natural to curve it. It hurts the elbow. You can do a little, but you can't do too much, and throw too many curveballs, and so it pops the elbow, and then pitcher's out again. Tommy John surgery, which only works for a little bit. So you're ruining all the pitchers. So what are you doing? Why do you keep making the pitchers throw as hard as they can and throwing all these curveballs? Maybe you should stop because it's hurting them. That's why there's so many injured pitchers. It's just really, really stupid that they keep doing it, right? And so you've got to learn not to do it. It's as simple as that. So they're looking at the statistics, which says if a guy can throw hard, it's harder to hit. If a guy spins it at 28 spins, it's harder to hit. Nobody's questioning that except for you're ruining all the pitchers' arms. So I don't smell what they're cooking there. That's just stupid. And they keep coming and they keep ruining the pitcher's arms and they don't stop. And they think, well, if I pitch every 5th day and 100 pitches, but that's not doing it. They're still getting hurt. So where's that? The statistics. If they pitch every 5th day, they don't get hurt. Or if we keep them to 100 pitches, they won't get hurt. Well, that's bullshit. I don't know. I saw a lot of Bob Gibson and Sandy Koufax pitched on 3 days rest or every 4th day, and they didn't have a pitch count. They were fine. Koufax's arm finally fell off after 7 years, but he threw the ball very, very hard, probably too hard. But Gibson pitched for years, and Nolan Ryan threw 100 miles an hour for 15 years. Never got hurt, I don't believe. Tom Seaver and all the guys. Sorry, Luke. Pittsburgh had Doc Ellis. That was their big stud. But that's the thing. They don't. It's the silver bullet isn't 5 days, and the silver bullet is certainly not 100 pitches. Oh my God, he pitched 105. He's going to get hurt. No, it's you're making him. He's not capable of throwing the ball 97 miles an hour, and he's not capable of spinning it 75 times around before it hits home plate. More movement, harder to hit. Yeah, but the guy's arm falls off. So you've got to look at both sides of the equation and statistics, which they're not doing. So this is what they keep printing the money. thinking, what, this time the money won't collapse? The Romans did it, the French, the English, the Spanish, the Amsterdam guys. They all printed the money to zero. Everybody who's ever done it, in Germany, they did it. Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Greece, Sri Lanka, uh, Pakistan, all these countries are inflated their money, printed their money to zero. Nobody's ever done it where it hasn't gone to zero, right? They do it for a while where they have gold, but they're not smart enough to keep the gold. They want to go to war. I don't understand why everybody wants to go to war. What is the big deal about war? You kill other people. I was watching 3 Days of the Condor yesterday. Old movie, Robert Redford's in it. And good cast. Max von Sydow plays the German killer, and a few other people. And at the end of the movie, they go, like, what are you doing? Well, we're going to run out of oil, and people need to eat, and people need to heat their homes, and and it's like, well, you can buy the oil. The oil isn't going anywhere. You don't have to create a war to get the oil. Like, why can't you? You're buying oil from Saudi now. Why wouldn't you just keep buying oil from Saudi? Why would you have to go to war with Iran and Iraq and for their oil when just buy it from them? I mean, it's very simple. Just buy the oil. It's like any other good. If you want to buy wheat or China goods or Japan goods or whatever, Toyotas, just buy it from them. Why do you need to go to war for it? And so wars are very expensive, cost you a lot of money, and bankrupt every country that's ever been to a war. England lost their number one status when they lost in World War II. They lost all their gold because they had to buy equipment. I'm beginning to wonder if World War II, what it really was. I'm analyzing it differently, me, fifth dimensionally, and it almost seems like everybody was in on it. The U.S., Ford sells goods to it. I showed you yesterday, Bush sells good to it, to Germany. Swiss takes their money and gives them Swiss francs for the gold. Not a problem. I don't get Hitler's so vicious killing of the people. That was a little bit like, what are you doing? You could have used them as workers or as soldiers. They would have died anyway, but why would you put them in concentration camps? That's really sick. That's above and beyond cruelty that you didn't need to do. That was very sad. But in the really, I mean, the U.S., the Bush was helping with the steel. The Nazis make tanks and planes and everything. The engineers from Bosch and BMW and Mercedes were helping with also the planes and the different tanks and things like that. And they needed the iron ore, and they needed the steel, and they needed the radium and all these other minerals from other countries, and yet they sold it to them. Now they probably, if you don't, we're going to kill you, and they did a lot of that. But it's just very too many players were involved with that, making money off that war. The more I dig, the more I find, and the more I don't really want to find. I don't want to know the Swiss was laundering their gold and giving them Swiss francs for it, or that Portugal was selling them the radium, or that Sweden was selling them their iron ore. I don't really want to know that, but they didn't have the materials. So you wonder why they show a map. And all of Europe is black except for Switzerland, which is still white, which means they're not controlled by the Nazis. All of Europe was. And Russia is not part of Europe, I guess, or they are, but they weren't. Hitler went to Russia for their oil, which you'd think he'd have got it in North Africa or from Iran, or well, I guess that's North Africa. And he just basically um, should have just sent one group into Russia and take their oil. What was he thinking? He's gonna Russia's too big. You cannot take it. Or he should have taken Moscow or something. But what was he thinking to take the north, the oil? The north was the waterway, and then Moscow. Um, I actually heard that the St. Petersburg, no, the Stalingrad actually had military points to it where they were actually um, it was the waterway there that was controlling the boats coming in and out. So it was a good place to do it. I don't know that the way they did it was proper, but they could have had a better uh, theory to just stop the boats coming in. You didn't need the town. So I don't know. Anyway, so this is what's happening. You've got wars going on, which are very expensive. I think what's happening is they're going to blame the tariffs for the higher prices, but it's really the inflation. The money being printed is making the money worthless. Nobody wants the money, as you can see. Nobody will buy the treasuries, and therefore that's what's making the prices go up. They'll blame the tariffs, but the tariffs don't make prices go up. As I said, it makes the cost go up for the manufacturer, but you can't just raise prices. That's why I keep bringing up the ribs or the Camry, because if you make the ribs $45, you can raise the price, but nobody's going to buy it. Most of the stuff that they're going to raise the prices on, nobody's going to buy. We'll sit there and go, no, which puts you in the middle of a depression thanks to the tariffs. So what Trump's doing is deflecting the real inflation. Are we in a recession? Yes. Are we in a depression? Probably. Just be careful. I'm watching on the airport. Hopefully I can fly to Europe. I'm watching on the FX. Will they take my dollar if I go back to Italy or Barcelona? Let's say I go to Barcelona. Can I use my US dollars? Now I think they'll still use my credit card and they might charge me a little bit more. But when I'm there, I guess I'll use my credit card for food, taxi and stuff like that. I guess they'll start using it, but people are not really wanting the dollars, that they're starting to use the euro more. At least that's in the US. Like if we buy goods from Germany or something, they want to get paid in euros. Probably because the banks are charging them too much to take the dollars. We will see. All right, so a little economics class. July 1st, Basel III should raise silver and gold within some time. And July 17th, BRICS has their meeting in Brazil, Rio, and they've already come out with the gold-backed currency. China has Russia. They're digital, but I think the digital trade is buying oil. What are you going to do? Write them a check or a wire? So you just digitally send them the money. But I think the citizens all actually have gold-backed currency. I've seen Putin with dollars that were gold-backed, and Zimbabwe had them too. It's really the only out is the gold, and that's why the gold price should be 1,000 times higher. All right, let's look at baseball. Well, first look at basketball. One game finals. I did take Indy plus 7.5. They lost by 12, 103-91. Again, a phony victory because Halliburton hurt his ankle in the game, I guess. I don't know if it was the Achilles or the calf or whatever, but he did get hurt in the game. And so that hurt, and that's hard to predict. I thought Indy would give him a little bit better game, but it's so stupid. All OKC does is shoot 3-point shots. One thing I must say that I don't like about the NBA now is it's turning very, very communist, very socialist communist. When you look in the crowd, you see everybody wearing blue shirts, and the game in Indiana, everybody's wearing yellow shirts. Um, there's something called individual freedom here. Means if I want to wear a green shirt to the game, I'm wearing a fucking green shirt. I don't want to put on a blue t-shirt. I don't want to put on a yellow t-shirt. I want to wear a red shirt or a green shirt or a black shirt. I don't want to be told I have to wear a blue shirt or even to wear one. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be individual, which means if you went to OKC yesterday and you had on a Barry Sanders jersey, because he's went to Oklahoma State and it's orange and white, I don't want to put on a blue shirt. I want to wear my Barry Sanders shirt. And yet you can see everybody in the crowd is all wearing blue. Yes, Darth Vader, the Star Wars, the Imperial Guard, all dressed in white. That's scary. That's very much socialism, communism, where you're a group, you're no longer an individual, and you're fucked, because then that's how they control you, as a group, not as individuals. That's the key to the United States, is we're individuals. We can do whatever we want. I want to go get pizza for lunch, I'll go get pizza for lunch. I want to go to swim, I go swim. It's all individuals. So this is not good to see a basketball game and everybody's dressed in blue. I know I'm probably the only one who thinks like this. Oh, isn't it good they're supporting their team and everybody's wearing blue? Nah, 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 nah. It's bullshit. Everybody wearing yellow at Indy is bullshit. That's not what. If you went with a Magic Johnson jersey on, you want to show. You want with a Joe Montana jersey. You want to show them the Montana jersey or the Jerry Rice jersey. You don't want to have this blue T-shirt on underneath. Now you're one of the crowd. Very dangerous what they're doing. All right, so the end of NBA. Who cares? I watched about 2 minutes of the game. It's too boring to watch. I really have a hard time watching it. You know, couple minutes and too many commercials, and they're interviewing the coach or the player in the middle of the game. Oh, so what are you going to do to stop Joey from what are you going to do to stop Joey from scoring? And the coach, well, we got to play better defense. And you know what? Why don't you shut the fuck up while I'm trying to coach right now, in the middle of the game? I don't need you interviewing me. Interview me later. All right, let's go baseball. First game, Yankees under 10. They win 4-2. That's the eighth under I've hit in a row. I'll play them under today if they play. Detroit 9, Tampa Bay 3. I did have Tampa yesterday. And Detroit, it was a close game. And then all of a sudden in the ninth inning, they scored like 7 runs. It was really confusing. See, I had it right with the starter, but the reliever came in and he sucked. Texas under 9, and Pittsburgh scores 8. Where did that come from? 8-3. Loser, White Sox under 8.5. That's a winner. It was 4-2 White Sox. Miami 5, Atlanta 3. I have Atlanta over 8. It's a push, as they scored 8. Milwaukee 9, Minnesota 8. I played Milwaukee, so I got lucky there that they won. Cincinnati, St. Louis. Cincinnati was a play. Andrew Abbott, 7-1 with a 179. They win 4-1. Look at Andrew Abbott out of nowhere. The Cubs under 11.5. This one got me 14-6. Seattle got 2 touchdowns, and the Bears went for 2. And there you go. You shouldn't go for 2. Shocking. Colin Ray, with his 3-something ERA, is now 4-something ERA, is now 4-4. You don't expect 14 runs from with Colin Ray pitching. What are you going to do there? Colorado 4, Arizona 2. I have Arizona over 12 and 4-2. Sanzalia with his 6.48 ERA, and this is the problem with averages. Frisco 9, Boston 5. I have Frisco. Robbie Ray, and he wins 9-5. Oakland over 9, and they didn't show up. Slade Ciccone with the 3.380 ERA throws a shutout. Okay. But that wasn't a bet. Cal over 9 is a bet. And there you go, 8-7 Houston. That's why I bet overs instead of the team. Couldn't really trust the pitcher, but I knew they were going to score. So 8-7. I got San Diego under 8.5 and 3-2. A late touchdown by Harbaugh. Mahomes had a bad day, only getting 2 points. There you go. Just like football, San Diego under. The Dodgers over 9.5, and they win 13-7. They missed an extra point. They must have went for 2 also. Stafford with 2 touchdowns there. And Philly 7-1 over the Mets. I played the Mets. I lost, but I didn't bet it. So my bets: Yankees under 10, winner. Tampa Bay, loser. White Sox under 8.5, winner. Cincinnati, winner. Cubs under 11.5, loser. California over 9, winner. San Diego under 8.5, winner. And the Dodgers over 9.5, winner. Wow, what a huge day. So I go 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4, 5, 6-2. So to answer David's question, how do I do? If I looked at the whole stack, I did very well. But when I look at just the games I picked, I went 6-2. That's 75%. And that's what makes time travel possible. And I do it without a Gray Sports Almanac. I don't have the results in front of me like Biff. Starting pitching, the pitching, who's hot. The Yankees haven't done anything in a week and a half now. So very clever there. Let's see what happens today. Philadelphia. Let's see if Bryce Harp played yesterday. I was surprised the Tigers won the way they've been playing. David Peterson in this 2.98 didn't work. Let's see. Turner, Schwarber, Baum, Castellanos, Rio Mutu, Kemp, Sosa, Kennedy, and Rojas. There is no Bryce Harper. They got 7 runs on 10 hits. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters now. No, 5 hitters. One's a pinch hitter. So they got a 300 hitter, a 290, 286, 260, 279, a 257 pinch hitter, and B. Kennedy. He was 0 for 1, and he had 1 walk, and he's hitting 0. So he's in for somebody, and that's where you get it is Kennedy, and it didn't matter. They still kicked their ass. All right, so no Bryce Harper yet. Don't know the injury. All right, let's look at today. Nothing early, 6:35's first game. So probably a short day. All-Star break coming up, probably middle of July, probably when Bricks has their meeting. They have the meeting so they can watch the All-Star game. Yeah. Texas and Baltimore, neither team hits really good. Baltimore 139.5. Patrick Corbin, 4-6 with the 3.91 against Trevor Rogers, 0-0 with a 3.12. Total of 9.5. Baltimore 4 hitters, Texas 3 hitters. I'll have to update that. So that's old. After class, I will update my scoring. It's it's a 10 or 20% goes into the thing. It's mostly the pitching and the streak, but really not. You're not really looking at, oh, I'm going to bet it because of the hitter. Sometimes I bet an over because teams have like 6 good hitters if it's a weak pitcher. But even just because it's a weak pitcher, I might bet it over. Trevor Rogers, 0-0 at the 3.12. Let's see what he is. He's pitched in 2 games. All right, 6 innings shutout against Boston at Boston. That's pretty impressive. And then a 2 inning against Tampa, he gave up 3 runs. That's not impressive. So he's a newbie. Texas. I have no idea if I want to go over or under, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I'm going to take Texas because I can't figure this game out. Over, under. I have no idea. I'm just going to go with Patrick Corbin, who's 4-6 with the 3.91. All right, the Braves and the Mets, good series. We got Atlanta 135, 8.5. Spencer Swellenbach 5-4, 3.26 against Paul Blackburn 0-1 with the 6.92. I've heard of him, but I think he's been out and he's just coming back. Boy, I hate to. Let's go over 8.5. Can't bet it, but Sullenberger 3.26, Blackburn 6, 8.5. Both teams hit. The Mets put up 100 runs the other day, so let's stick with the over. The Yanks, Cincinnati. This is a tough one because we know Cincinnati hits the hell out of the ball. Dela Cruz apparently got overheated Saturday and he threw up, but he didn't come out of the game. Yankees 125-10. Alan Williams 0-0 with an 0-0 goes against Nick Lodolo 5-5 with the 3.71. Can anybody answer why the Yankees are favored in this game? I mean, at best. All right, let's look at Alan wind chimes from California. Went to Campbell. Has anybody heard of Campbell College? 17th rounder from the Mets. He's pitched in 3 games. Pitched in 2 games. One was postponed. Gives up in 5 innings. Gives up 7 runs, and then against Cincinnati in 2 innings gives up 7 runs. Okay, so I need somebody to explain why, in God's name, the Yankees are minus a 125 favorite with the pitcher who gives up 7 runs. How does he have a 0 ERA? What the fuck? Five innings, gave up 7 runs, and 2 innings gave up 7 runs, and his ERA 0 against the Mets and the Reds. I don't know. Well, the Yankees aren't going to hit. This Winion's terrible, and Nick Lodolo 5-5 to 3.71's okay. Now, here's where it gets tough. The streak is under, right? 8 days in a row under Yankees, all winners. So what do we do with this game? Are they going to struggle with Lodolo? It's in Cincinnati, a pretty good hitter's park. Winion's going to give up 7 runs. I got to play Cincinnati. I'll go 2 units. But I really don't want to, miss out on the under. Yankees probably won't hit Lodolo, and Cincinnati should kill Wyndham. So I got to go Cincinnati 2 units. Seattle and Minnesota. Seattle 138.5. Ric Flair going tonight. Brian Wu 6-4, 3.12 against Bailey over 4-4 with the 4.54. I keep thinking he's good, and he once in a while is good, and then he's not good. 4-4 with the 4.54. Yeah, I'm going to take Rick. I'm going to take Seattle. Over is good. I don't know over under here. Probably under 8.5, but I don't want to mess with that. Pittsburgh goes to Milwaukee. Pittsburgh finally got more than 2 runs yesterday. And Skanes wasn't pitching, unfortunately. Milwaukee minus 180, 8.5. Braxton Ashcraft 1-0 with a 1.54 for Pitt. Skanes Jr. here against Chad Patrick 3-7 with the 3.50. 350. I'm going to go under 8.5. The second. To second. So Daria's daughter's feeling better. She'll come home in a day or two. Okay, sorry about that. Her daughter was really sick, so I'm glad she's starting to feel better. And she can come home from the hospital um, any day now. Her birthday's tomorrow, so that's good. All right. Sorry about that. She's in Russia, so it's 1 o'clock, 8 o'clock there, so it's almost 8 o'clock at night. All right. So Pittsburgh, we're going under 8.5. Arizona and Chicago, we have Arizona minus 135 and 9. Eduardo Rodriguez, 2 and 4 at 5.93. Shane Smith, 3 and 4 at 2.85. You almost like the White Sox here. They've been playing well. Yeah, I think I'll take the White Sox. Not gonna bet them though. The Cubs and the Cardinals. The Cubs 115, 8.5. Ben Brown, 4 and 5 with the 5.57. Matthew Liberatore, 4 and 6 with the 4.08. Ben Brown. I see something. All right. Over under 8.5. Let's go over with the Cubbies. Over 8.5, and I'll put 2 units on it. All right. Boston and California. Boston 118 and 9. They've been pretty hot lately. So is California. Walker Buehler stinks 5 and 5 with a 5.95 against Jack Konowitsky, who also sinks 3 and 8 with the. We had 2 terrible pitchers, so we're going over. Boston over 9, and we'll go 3 units on this. And the last game, Washington at San Diego. Again, we like the Chargers under. San Diego 180, 8.5. Mitchell Parker 4 and 8 with the 4.59 against Stephen Kolek, 3 and 2 with the 3.59. So we will go. Let's go San Diego. Let's just take San Diego. So we got 3 bets. We got Texas, Atlanta over 8.5. Cincinnati's the first bet, 2 units. Seattle, Pitt under 8.5. The White Sox, the Cubbies over 8.5. Second bet. Boston over 9. We're going to go 3 units on that as the third bet. And San Diego, which San Diego's an under team, like Pittsburgh's an under team. And so you want to keep betting them under. So when you have like this chance, it's probably an over, but I don't want to do it. So I'll take San Diego. And we will see. All right. So that is baseball for today. Is there any news in the NIFL, NFL? Off-season power rankings. Fuck that. I would never listen to that. Storylines of minicamp. Who cares? Hunter signs rookie contract with Jags. 30 million bonus up front. What a waste of money that is. Will Cowboys, Micah Parsons find a middle ground soon? Matt Leinart, who cares? Prime Jr. again has had more than one speeding ticket. Okay, who cares? So if this guy gets speeding tickets, are you going to trust him to listen to your coaches when he doesn't respect the law? That's what that tells me. Andy Reid says rookie wide receiver Rashad Rice and Josh Simmons, the left tackle, are ready for training. That's good to get Rice back. Travis Kelce, who gives a fuck? What is with all these other Jason Kelce commercials? Do we even know who Jason Kelce is? Why is he doing commercials? Do we even care? Am I going to buy a product because Jason Kelce, who I've never heard of, is this stud? It's funny, he was like a big all-pro center for Philadelphia. I never heard of him. Because I don't pay attention to offensive linemen. I pay attention to quarterbacks and running backs and receivers and guys like Lawrence Taylor and stuff like that. Yeah, that's about it. All right. So I'm going to show you this short one by Alligator. Recession's already here, and he has a few other points that we talk about. China gains, Americans dump dollars. Trump's ultimatum rejected, so they're just laughing at Trump. China just cut off SWIFT. Well, we already know they're on their own gold-backed system. We saw the Bush family. Airlines dump America, but these are foreign airlines. So I think we can get on Delta or American and still fly to Europe. All right, so let's look at Alligator.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful here. You know, I don't waste time, and I definitely don't waste money. I joined Start Engine.
You're an idiot. Mr. Wonderful. It's Paul Orndorff. We all know that.
Recession already underway, markets still asleep, Rosenberg warned. So the US economy is already in recession, even if markets have yet to wake up to it, says David Rosenberg, founder and chief economist at Rosenberg Research. In a new interview with Kitco News, Rosenberg points to a wide set of deteriorating indicators, including the Federal Reserve's own beige book. To argue that economic retraction is not coming, it's already here. So I thought about this story, and you know, I have been told that the Federal Reserve has about approximately 400 economists working at the Federal Reserve.
For all Keynesians, though.
Well, it seems to me they can't seem to add up 2 and 2, let alone be an economist. But what's your thoughts? Is it because it's just all Keynesian top thinking? Is it that people don't understand that we have no growth? What's your thoughts, Alistair?
Well, first of all, about whether there is growth or not, I think that the US is in recession, and I would agree with Rosenberg on that point. The reason I believe this is that if you take out the element of GDP, which is purely down to the budget deficit, because the budget deficit is spent into the economy. Therefore, if you strip that out, you then end up with an economy, if you like, being measured without the inflation of a budget deficit. Now, under those circumstances, you can see that with the budget deficit in America currently running at 6.5% to 7.5% of GDP, take that out, and yes, I mean the economy minus that is in recession and has been for 2 or 3 years now. The other factor, and this is why it's macroeconomics is really rubbish. Let's put it as bluntly as that. Another factor.
So that's Keynesian, is macroeconomics, where they try to manage the market. What we talk about is microeconomics. We talk about individuals and markets, where somebody sells a Canadian club, we buy it. The government can't control us, so we control the markets. That's what Austrian or classical economics is. It's microeconomics, not macro. because we're trying to say, oh, Joey wants golf clubs, which we have no idea which one she'll choose. And there's got to be a market with different price ranges and different golf clubs. That's what free market is. That's what Austrian classical economics is. When he talks macro or macro, when he talks macro, that's Keynesian, that's communism, socialism. Government runs the economy and tries to do it, and it never works. It never has, and it never will. It can't, because you can't figure out what we want to buy and what we're going to pay for it. That becomes ours, and the prices dictate what we're going to do, which is $45 ribs, no way. $35,000 Camry, no way. They can't predict that in the macroeconomics, but in micro, we just tell them to fuck off. We're not going to pay that much, and then they lower the price. And it's done between us and the seller.
Is that you cannot measure the general level of prices. I mean, we can all have an opinion as to what the general level of prices might be, but you cannot measure it.
Who cares?
Because one person's spending is completely different from another person's spending. You can't average it out. And of course, we are also all aware that because the governments produce the statistics, and because that they do things like hedonics and so on and so forth, they manage to suppress the headline rate of inflation, as they call it. I mean, we have independent analysts who have shown that the current rate of price inflation in America is perhaps closer to 10% than the 2.5% to 3%, which is reported by government statistics. And it's been like that for decades. So, I mean, this is where, if you really want to get an approximation of the loss of purchasing power of a currency, look at the relationship between the currency and gold. That is why gold is where it is, it measured in dollars. It is actually a true reflection of what's going on. But coming back to the point, if you
well, I gotta argue that, because it's not a real price. It's a paper price. It's a price fixed price by JP Morgan. The COMEX is not a real price of a free market price of gold. So he's not right there. The fact gold's higher is due to the demand, not due to the dollar crashing. The dollar's already crashed. Gold's going to hit 10,000 an ounce. The dollar can't go anywhere any farther down than zero. So again, he's missing the point of what COMEX is. It's paper gold, and it's price fixing it. So how can you say that the dollar's priced in gold when the price isn't even real on COMEX? I mean, it's just crazy.
and
Poor Mark.
calculate what the real growth in the economy, as it were, the real growth in GDP, you should also take out the debasement of the currency. And if the debasement of the currency is considerably more than the government tells us, then obviously that has an impact on the so-called growth of GDP. So all these figures are actually pretty much meaningless. But interestingly, the University of Michigan's consumer survey, which covers quite a few areas of consumer demand and all the rest of it, indicates that the recent instability with respect to tariffs and President Trump's sort of vacillations, saying one thing and then something completely different on the following day, this has led to a loss of confidence amongst consumers. This, I would assume, would be beginning to be reflected in government statistics over, let us say, the coming months, but probably not as much as they should be, because you're talking about GDP, you're talking about nominal GDP, which is being undermined in terms of its purchasing power by, guess what? The government budget deficit running at 6.5% to 7.5% every fiscal year. So this is, I think, is a classic example of where suddenly we're going to find things sort of happen, and we sort of think, well, we should have known this. But the point is, the statistics which the government produces, upon which everybody appears to rely, are themselves fatally flawed. And I always go back to something that Lord Canning, who was Prime Minister in this country in 1827, said, "I can prove anything with statistics except the truth." And this was before we had all these statistics churned out by computers.
So that's why I bitch about algorithms and analytics, because they really don't tell the whole picture, right? Analytics in football I don't like because on 4th and 1, it doesn't say against Baltimore and Pittsburgh and the better defensive teams. It just lumps it in and says, oh, if you go for 4th down, not a problem. And if you miss, you lose the game. But we won't tell you that either. And that's the problem with baseball and all these sports. Oh, a 3-point shot's worth more than a 2-point shot, so take it. That doesn't mean you're going to win the games. It's just, it's stupid. I got a better chance of winning if I dunk the ball than if I take 3-point shots. And same thing with baseball. Yeah, if I can have my pitchers pitch 100, I have a better chance of winning. Yeah, but I don't have anybody that can pitch 100. Well, force them to. Yeah, and then they're all injured. Yeah, so it's the same thing. The analytics don't work. I love when I'm watching, Buffalo has a 57% chance of beating Baltimore. Well, who the fuck cares? You're not betting at money line. That's where people are losing a lot of money by looking at that, betting at money line, and then they lose because they listen to fucking statistics. All right.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that one up because I was trying to remember exactly that particular quote.
But I mean, the answer is that yes, we are. I think we are in recession, as he puts it. I think probably going into a slump is it's the old-fashioned description, if you like, of the conditions that we have. And you only need to go around the country and see the state of high streets. You know, the small and medium-sized businesses, which in this country employ something like well over 90%. They provide something like over 90% of jobs in the UK, and it's not too dissimilar in America. And you've got these consumers, as it were, who are getting maxed out on the credit cards. So the whole situation is really grinding to some sort of halt. And I think that's extremely worrying. And I think really to just think in terms of the economy is likely to grow at 0.7% or whatever. Come on, this is not a real figure. It really is. You've got to look at it. I think, as the Austrian economists would say, from an a priori basis. In other words, you've got to argue the thing through rather than just depend on the poll statistics, which we know don't present the real situation.
So there we have, folks, the world at war, and but also the facts and figures have been distorted to look like they're telling the truth, but it's exactly the opposite.
Do not buy new windows if you live.
Why does that surprise anybody? I mean, we don't think inflation's, if you understand it, and that's why I keep explaining it. Inflation is printing the money. You cannot look at cost and you cannot look year over year to get that figure, nor is there a figure. I mean, you got to go back to 1971 and a car was $2,500. Now it's $50,000. Is that 2% inflation? 2% inflation on a $2,500 car would be what? Like $500? But you can't get a car for 26,000, right? They're 50,000. So inflation's huge if you want to measure it. But why do they think you can measure it year over year is beyond me. All right, let's look at this one a little bit. China game, Americans dump down, I don't know.
Pesos and Canadian dollars. US dollar just got kicked off the table, and not by China. American importers are switching to euros. Central banks are dumping treasuries. And now, even US companies are refusing to settle trades in their own currency. A Midwest importer paying in euros, a national retailer settling Chinese deals in yuan. Gold surging. Trust in Washington collapsing. This isn't a currency shift, it's a global mutiny. While the White House plays tariff poker, the world is cashing out of the dollar and betting everything on a system that no longer includes the United States. The question now, can the dollar survive the rebellion it never saw coming? A U.S. lumber importer in Iowa now pays his European suppliers in euros, not because he wants to, but because they refuse to take dollars, offering a 2% discount for euro transactions. And he's not alone. According to Paula Cummings, head of currency sales at U.S. Bancorp, foreign vendors increasingly demand payment in their own currency. "Just give us our currency," she quotes them saying bluntly. Bloomberg reports that even U.S. buyers are adapting, swapping dollars for yuan, pesos, and Canadian dollars in cross-border transactions. This isn't ideological. It's economic survival in response to a currency that has become too volatile to trust. Citigroup notes that trade invoicing in Asia and Latin America is increasingly shifting to regional blocks, bypassing dollar norms. But here's what's more alarming. This shift isn't just about trade. It's quietly eroding the foundation of the global reserve system. A record 43% of the world's central banks now say they will increase their gold holdings within 12 months, the highest in 8 years of World Gold Council data. At the same time, only 18% expect to maintain or increase U.S. dollar reserves, down sharply from 30%.
So why do they think that only the central banks buy gold? When we know in China and Russia, the shadow banks and Putin buys gold, it's not just the central banks buying gold. The citizens buy gold, China and Russia. So why do they think only the central banks, and why do they only care about the central banks when all the other banks do and all the shadow banks do? So it's really kind of strange how they just don't understand. They only quote, oh, the central bank's buying will go up. Well, I got news for you. There's not a lot of gold out there, so it's going to go way up in price. Again, it's price fixed, the paper price. And so everybody loves it because they're all wanting to buy more gold because they know the dollar's worthless. So they go, oh, we can get gold for $3,400 when it should be $34,000. And that's kind of, and silver too. Silver is $2,000-$3,000 an ounce, but we can get it for 36. Great. So they like COMEX price fixing it and keeping the price down so we can buy it. That's really the point of it. So we'll see, but it's crazy. But all the banks are buying gold. We buy gold. Me and you buy gold. So I don't know why they think it has to be a central bank thing. All right, just a little bit more of this.
Just 3 years ago. This isn't speculation. Central banks have bought more than 1,000 metric tons of gold per year for 3 straight years. And in 2024, gold overtook the euro as the second largest global reserve asset, trailing only the dollar. The shift, experts say, is fueled by Washington's expanding deficits, rising sanction risk, and concerns over dollar weaponization. Metals Focus, a top consultancy, confirms the pace of buying will likely continue in 2025. When gold, an asset with zero yield, outpaces the demand for treasuries, it suggests central banks are no longer prioritizing returns. They're hedging against a system they no longer trust. And yet, what they're about to abandon next may pose an even bigger threat to Washington's economic leverage. U.S. debt to GDP surged to 120.81% in the first quarter of 2025, according to the Congressional Budget Office, nearly double its 2008 level of CITXY 4%. Meanwhile, foreign ownership of U.S. Treasuries fell to a 7-year low of 29.3%, with Japan and China leading the divestments. JP Morgan analysts note the dollar's real effective exchange rate remains over 1 standard deviation above its historical average, despite weakening in recent months, suggesting more downside is likely. This is critical because fewer buyers for treasuries means rising yields, and the 10-year note already crossed 4.78%, a 14-month high. That rate impacts everything from mortgage costs to corporate borrowing. If central banks continue replacing treasuries with gold, America's borrowing costs won't just rise, they'll destabilize the entire post-war financial model.
I mean, it's just very logical. You've printed the dollar to death. It's not worth anything. Why would anybody want to hold it? And if you issue treasury bonds, you have a $37 trillion debt. How the hell are you going to pay them back? Oh, let's buy a U.S. treasury bond. Yeah. And it's 5% yield. Okay, here's 10 grand. I'll never see it. I'll never get it. I'd much rather put the 10 grand in gold. But that's obvious what's happening. They're dumping dollars to buy gold because gold, not only can you not lose in it, there's no risk, you can't inflate it, and you're about to get rich on it because it's gonna go 10, 20 times higher, as will silver. So it's a double, it's getting out of the dollar, so it saves me losing, and it's also going to go up, so I make money on it. It's a double whammy. So that's why it's the best thing to have. And then silver is second best. It's a similar thing. You can't print silver, and it's way undervalued, and it'll go up also. So I'm surprised when I saw silver at 37 last week. I couldn't believe we didn't hit 40 and 50. I was shocked that it's still 36, but it's not going under 36. All right, let's take a little bit more of this.
But if you think that's a theoretical concern, look at what's already happening at the invoice level.
If you're taking magnesium supplements, grab the bottle and see what form you're taking. If it's citrate.
If you think that's a theoretical concern, look at what's already happening at the invoice level. From 1999 to 2019, over 95% of export invoices across the Americas were denominated in US dollars. But in 2025, that status is unraveling in silence. According to a Citigroup strategy report, Asian and Latin American trade blocs are increasingly invoicing in yuan, euros, or local currencies, encouraged by the US tariff regime. In one case, a US retailer sourcing ware from China renegotiated supplier terms to pay in renminbi. Another, importing 400,000 euros worth of Italian manufacturing equipment, switched to euros after receiving a 3.1% discount. These aren't isolated choices. They really reflect a growing consensus that dollar-denominated deals introduce unacceptable currency risk. According to Carl Shimada at Corpay, the dollar's role is weakening not from a collapse, but from omission. And that
it is from a collapse. They're printing it to death. Big government, big debt. Nobody wants it. It has no value. Again, I gotta correct these idiots.
Mission may soon cascade if trade blocs formalize these preferences. Because when local currency contracts become standard, reserve shifts follow, and they don't reverse easily. Well, year to date, the US dollar has lost 9.7% against the euro, 8.4% versus the Mexican peso, and 8.1% against the yen, according to Bloomberg's June 2025 FX Index. Meanwhile, CPI data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows US inflation running at 2.4% year over year, a rate that, honestly, fails to reflect the real pain felt by exporters holding dollar receivables. Here's the real issue. Most export contracts involve a 30 to 90-day payment cycle. If the dollar loses 5% in that window and a supplier's net margin is 8%, profitability just disappears. As hedging becomes costlier, firms are opting out of dollar risk altogether. Corpay notes that exporters in Asia are renegotiating long-standing contracts to avoid dollar exposure entirely, citing it as a liability.
It's because it's not worth anything. You can't keep printing it and have value. All right. Hello, my I saw a thing that somebody bet on OKC, and they made a big deal about it. He bet 1.1 million on OKC, and the the money line was minus 700. So he bets 1.1 million on OKC to win it, and he only wins 100,000. What a fucking idiot that guy is. Why would you bet a 700 money line and think that's a good thing that he won 100? He bet over a million to win 100,000. When he would have done what we were doing and betting OKC in game 2, and then OKC in game 5 and Indy in game 6, he could have won a lot more money just seeing what's going on in the series. And the bet yesterday, I think, was ridiculous. Here's a lady bet 1.37 million. The woman who gambled $1 billion on a trip to Vegas, and she's crying. Oh, we got to watch this.
If you don't get your $25,000 final expense benefit, you risk missing out on one of the largest senior.
Let me tell you about a woman who had it all. Mayor of a beautiful city, married to a millionaire, respected by everyone who knew her name. Now picture that same woman, years later, hunched over a video poker machine at 3 a.m., her fingers mechanically pressing buttons, her once sharp eyes dulled by exhaustion and alcohol.
This reminds me of the Twilight Zone episode when Franklin couldn't sleep because he kept hearing he heard the slot machine calling his name. That was better.
Beloved former mayor of San Diego, but O'Connor's life took a stunning turn after it was revealed that she gambled away a fortune.
Prosecutors believe she won and lost more than $1 billion playing video poker, O'Connor said.
This isn't just another sad story about someone who gambled away their
She's a
fortune.
loser.
This is about Maureen O'Connor, San Diego's first female mayor, political powerhouse, philanthropist, and how the casino saw her coming from a mile away. And if it could happen to her, claim strikes one of the smartest, most disciplined people to ever run a major American city, then Hunt.
Excuse me? She was smart and disciplined? She wasn't disciplined. If she had anything, she'd have been playing poker, not that. That's ridiculous.
It could happen to anyone. So who was Maureen O'Connor before she became a cautionary tale? For starters, she wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth, more like a plastic fork from a fast food joint. One of 13 kids raised by a part-time bookie father. Yeah,
I like him
irony
already.
can be pretty cruel sometimes. Her family was so broke that one Thanksgiving, they molded hamburger meat into the shape of a bird because they couldn't afford the real thing. I'm not even kidding. After college, she became a gym teacher at a
All
Catholic
right, it's hard to watch this idiot. U.S. farming won't survive. What is this idiot Trump doing? Oh, here's a nice one. He lost 240 million. Just a bunch of idiots. This is why we learn how to win. We never have this problem because we're not going to gamble. We're going to win. We bet football to win. That's why we bet on Mahomes and Joe Burrow, and we stay away from Lamar. All right. Let's take a last look at what's going on in gold. Any questions or comments? Not a lot of comments lately. All right, we're at 33.86 in gold. We got up to 88. We're getting there, 3,400 again. And 36.28 in silver. Again, that leads a little bit. We should be over 37 now. And the Dow is 121. It's 121. 42.3. This is absolutely a joke number. It's an algorithm number. It's not a real number. The problem with the algorithms is you don't really see the supply demand free market. It's the algorithms doing it. And I think they're related to ETFs and stuff like that. So this number is not even close to reality. And when it crashes, it's going to really crash, because as people start pulling their money out, especially the foreigners, they got $11 trillion to pull out. It'll go down 10 times faster. So, okay, you're in it at 42,000. What do? It's going to go to 84,000? Or do you sell it and buy gold, which gold's going to go from 3,400 to 6,800 and no sweat? Or silver, we know silver's going to double from 36. It's going to go to 100 at least, on its way to 500. So which one would you rather be in? Gold at 40, stock market at 42, and that's the whole stock market. You own what, Apple or Amazon, anything creative like that you have no idea why you're in it, because it goes up, because you think if it goes up, it'll just keep going up, because you have no idea why you're buying it or why to sell it. You're playing games. So that's what I warn you about. Look out further. It's up 110 today, 42.3. I wouldn't touch it. I haven't been in the market in years, because it's all Ponzi scheme. It's got absolutely nothing there. So please be careful with that. Again, free trade you do not want tariffs, because it drives cost up. And anytime it drives cost up, causes depressions, causes you to spend more to get whatever items are left, because they've raised the cost on them. Why is the government getting involved with increasing cost? Why? The government shouldn't be involved. That's why it's laissez-faire economics and Adam Smith. Laissez-faire is leave it alone. Why isn't the government leaving it alone? Oh, this will pay off our $37 trillion debt? You're out of your fucking mind. It won't. You're not going to get $37 trillion in tariffs, because the costs will go up. They'll either stop making it or stop selling it to the U.S. One or the other. That's what's happening. So you've got to understand that. It's not, tariffs are terrible. You've got to understand that it raises the cost on the goods. So either the company goes out of business because they can't raise the price. You cannot automatically raise the price because the cost went up. GM's costs go up. Oh, we're going to raise the price of the car, really? And we can't sell any now. We're going to start selling them because we raised the price? Yeah, I don't think so. So I don't buy it. I just hope I can still go to Europe before my dollar won't spend it. But I would think I could book, and I'll go on bookings just to see if I can, get a hotel in Barcelona and see if they'll take US dollars, which I'm sure they will. Because they get it from Visa. We pay Visa, they get it from Visa. So the hotel's fine. They don't have a risk in their dollar. The only risk is the FX risk in it. Anyway, I think that's it. I think I'll come back. I'm going to eat. Maybe I'll swim. I'll come back later. I'll do the SEC. Get the big country. Now, I did the Big Ten, but I don't know if anybody realizes I did the Big Ten. I thought I'd have a lot more views on the Big Ten, so I'm going to probably do separately the SEC and the Big Ten and try to get the quarterbacks. I have a list, so I've got to update the list based on Great Sports Almanac to determine. Well, Ohio State, they got a new quarterback. He's a freshman from Alabama, of all places. The Georgia quarterback's now at Miami. He wasn't that good at Georgia, so good luck, Miami. I don't know. Everybody's just Archie Manning's the best quarterback. He's the number one draft pick. The guy hasn't done shit. He didn't look that good when he came in last year. I don't know why he's the number one, and without doing anything, he hasn't. If he's that good, he would have played. He sat out for 2 years at Texas because he wasn't that good. We never thought Ewers was that good. So I doubt Arch Manning's any good, but his name's Manning. And all right, so we're going to go through the SEC. I'll make my own. I think I'll make my own videos. The Big Ten and SEC have to be separate because there's so many. There's 16 in the SEC, 18 in the Big Ten. I can do like the Mountain West and the Sun Belt together, or ACC and Conference USA together. That I can do, and I'll just do those. But the Big Ten and the SEC, I know there's a lot of interest in that, so I'll do that separately. Anything else? Anyway, so look for gold. Could hit 3,400 by the end of the day. Again, it goes to China. It's 33.80, so it's very close to getting back to 3,400. This time when it gets to 3,500, it's not coming back to 3,300. And then we have silvers again, 36 and a quarter, 36.30. So it's holding over the 36. It did go to 35.90, but quickly went back over to 36. So it's healthy. We did see 37. July 1st, we should see it start to move with Basel III. And we will go from there. All right. And I'll leave you with this. How to be a financial power. You must have low taxes. You must have free trade. It's most important because there's goods and services that you need, like Swiss franc and iron ore and all these other French champagne. There's things that you need, so you must have to trade it. You don't have everything. You must have a strong rule of law. You must have stable money, gold-backed currency, and you must have good communications. And again, inflation is printing the money, causing the money to lose value. I don't know why, like Alligator said, well, it's, there's inflation and devaluing the money. It's the same. I don't know. Why is it so hard? That's what inflation is. You're inflating the money supply, making it worth less, period. Prices are not part of inflation. There are the effect because it takes more dollars to buy tuna fish, but that's not how you measure inflation. You do not measure year over year and percentage. That's just fantasy land. That's bullshit. So the government say, look, it's 2%. Who in their right mind would believe the government about anything? They lie to us about everything. Like I said, I was watching that 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford, and it was all about oil. And it's like, go buy the fucking oil. You don't have wars over it. You don't kill all these people over it. You just go buy it. Oh, Saudi Arabia is selling it? Fine, I'll buy it from them. Just like tennis shoes and golf clubs and tennis rackets. If you want it, you don't have a war over it. You just go buy it. So anyway, all wars are about money. Don't forget that. Oil or gold, period. Hitler chose the gold path and needed oil and needed food and needed everything because he didn't have anything. He was probably the least equipped to go to war of anybody who went to war, right? No money, no materials. He was a madman. All right. I think that's about it. So I will be back later picking the SEC. Well, we're going to break it down and we'll go from there. So www.teaserking.com. And let's our last look at gold. $33.80 and silver $36.21. So gold will go back. It was $33.88. So it does. They're playing their little games of options. Oh, I can make $20 doing this option. And again, remind you that is paper. That is not physical. That's not the physical price of gold. It might be what you can get it for, $33.79, and my guy's going to charge you $110 premium, so you're going to pay $34.90 for an ounce of gold. but the 33.79 is not a real price of physical gold. It's a price of paper gold. And we know physical is a lot less limited than paper. I mean, this is such a beautiful setup. It's amazing that we can get gold and silver this cheap because they're using the paper prices to price it instead of the physical prices. And we're only buying physical, no ETFs allowed. Careful with your stocks. They're going to go get crushed too. And so really you want to get out of your 401ks before they're worthless, and you want to buy as much gold physical and silver physical as you can. And you can't lose with them. And they're so undervalued because they're using the paper price to price the physical gold, which is freaking crazy. So if I did an option on that, and I could say, oh, it's $5, but that's not the physical price. That's the paper price. Physical price is $100. Paper price could be $2, but that's not what you pay for it. You pay the physical price. All right, I guess that's it. I will see you later. I will do, now that I have the football, I will do each conference, and I still owe you a draft video, which is no big deal. I mean, we can see what's going on with the draft, and I think that's it. So no comments. Please leave comments. We can chat. That's why it's live. All right, www.teaserking.com. I will see you later. With that, good luck on the baseball. Again, the baseball picks. Cincinnati, 2 units. The Cubs, over 8.5, 2 units. And Boston, over 9, 3 units. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good day, and I will see you later.